My name is Tanya Wingfield, and I am in the Social Work Practice 1 class, and this is my self evaluation of the final role play. So, to start off, I did identify the agency in the role play. I identified it as Project Safe, and I also talked about the referral, which was from the Walk in the Light Counseling Services. Some of the other things that I did was introducing myself, that I did have information of the client prior to meeting with them, that I also discussed with them confidentiality, and going over that, also providing them with the document so they could follow along, as well as the requirements for reporting. I did ask follow up questions and questions to gather more information. A lot of that was done through the process of the assessment. And so in this assessment, it talked about family history, it talked about housing history, it also talked about as well any mental health history, educational history. So it was a very detailed assessment that could also gather additional information that could be used to have a little bit more information about the client. I provided active listening. I talked with the client, listened to what they had to say. I was able to rephrase some of that information, also reflecting, summarizing, clarifying, and interpreting as well. Skills were used during the final role play. I felt like I had an attitude of warmth and concern, as far as I was showing empathy, also genuineness throughout the process of the role play. And so I also provided eye contact. I was focused on their strength. I did identify some of the strengths of the client in there, just to make sure that they felt empowered, and could make some decisions. It felt like they were making decisions that were good for them as we talk about individual advocacy when we're working with clients. I also helped the client to establish one goal. And so throughout that, we talked about that goal. We talked about different resources that could help them with that goal and what that looked like for the client. And so also they were a part of that process throughout that, the setting of the goal. So I felt like I did a good job with the client, identifying possible. So also within that, I definitely think I did a good job overall. I do think that one of the things that I've learned as well is slowing down. I know I speak very fast, and so sometimes I can rush through or seem as though I'm rushing through. So learning to slow down, to smile more as I am talking with clients. So sometimes I can get a very serious face. And so just making sure that I'm slowing down, that I'm watching my facial expressions, but continuing to engage with the client throughout that process. Also, another thing I think is just being a little bit more organized. And this is for me, just feeling a little overwhelmed, pressured about where my documents were. And so just kind of thinking of what that looks like for the client. You don't want to seem as though that you are, not prepared, but also making sure that they understand that, that we're all human, and that we also sometimes are not as organized as we would like to be. So I think, those are two things that I've taken away from that. Also, being more understanding with the client and how they feel about the process, and engaging a little bit more about that and talking with them more about that. And so, how does this feel so far? I think I, asked them questions, but I think just being more in the emotional piece of that. How are you feeling more today? How are you feeling after this process? And what would you like to do, see moving forward? So just thinking about the emotional toll that sometimes working with agencies and programs, what that looks like for the client, and how sometimes, and thinking about our biases as well. So I think that will be my ongoing, is just continuing to improve better, to do better in regards to those things, but also thinking about how I can better be an advocate, and advocating for them. And so one of the things is policy. I'm in a policy class, so I think that's another way that I feel like I can be a better advocate and being more and advocating more on the policy level. And that could be local or that could be federal. And so I think those are some of the things that I've considered how I can do better, not only in my role play, but as an advocate as well. And lastly, I guess one of the other things that I would consider as well too is that in that moment while sitting there with the client, I could have actually made the phone calls with the client. And so then that way we would have done a soft handoff. And then that way they would have felt a little bit better about, going through that process. Sometimes that can be very overwhelming for people and clients who are also dealing with the issues that they've come to us for. And so I think, being a better advocate would be also doing that soft, warm handoff and actually calling with the client in that moment and helping them navigate the process to the resources and services that I've given them. So I thank you so much for allowing me to participate in this class. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'll talk with you later. Bye.